If you don't put all your energy into one, like you're just going to be okay at a bunch of things, but you're not really going to be great at one thing. I think that's the tough part of our job, especially when you're working with buyers. They hear you're telling them, but they don't believe it.
If you have it locked in that you're going to finish, no matter what pace you're going at, you'll get it done.
All right, guys. Today I'm here with another guest, Josh Lopez. Welcome.
Yo.
I wanted to talk today about just the success you've been having lately, man. I know we've been having a couple private conversations, and you mentioned something about going all in on your business. And I've seen definitely a transition from when you started with us and your development to now this recent year, where seems like you're having your best year yet in real estate. So I wanted to talk about your journey, just how you got started in real estate, and what was that shift for you and what's happening now that's leading to your success.
To do the long story short, right? So just like a lot of people when they first get their real estate license, right? They, at least for me, I was still dabbling, and I had my own previous business. I think you know that. I had my marketing and a media agency business. I didn't really pick up the ball on real estate that much. I just kind of was like, whenever I get like a SOI or like a friend, family, right? Like a lot of people. And then once I transferred over to your guys as a team, then that's when I got to really start to pick up things, right? Learning a lot, learning about the market that we're in, how things work, how to write a contract, like a lot of stuff that a lot of people I don't think, especially people that are like halfway in, right? Mm-hmm. That they're not really too worried about. But yeah, when you start being around, a team where people are killing it and getting in offers and stuff like that, you're like, yeah, I got to get on the fucking ball, dude. Right? I think that's when I started to kind of realize that I needed to be more fully invested into real estate.
Yeah.
And that's when I continued to start kind of shifting out my business, mm-hmm. and then completely dissolving that last year in July, and then went all in. And ever since then, I think now being able to focus all my time and energy into real estate, at least for this last year and a half, right? I feel like I've been more focused. I've been more confident, and then everything that I'm channeling as far as energy and stuff like that is all to how to prepare to be better. And then also like in the midst of everything, it's like now I'm able to really dial in and focus.
Yeah, definitely. And I've noticed that from you. It's just you had a few things going on when you first joined us, right? Where you were in transition from running your other business and doing this, and other gigs that you had going on. I guess what was the turning point for you? What made you say to yourself, like, hey, I need to let some of these other things go if I really want to do well in real estate?
Well, to be honest, one of the people that I had a conversation with, and then it's actually a mutual friend between both of us, mm-hmm. Anthony. Shout out Anthony from Outsource Plug.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Anthony. Virtual
assistants. Me and him had a conversation. We've been boys for a long time, right? And one of the things that he said to me one time at like one of his family gatherings when we're hanging out is that really always stuck with me, is that he was like, Josh, I've always known you, and you've always been able to be good at a bunch of things, but like with real estate, and I know you can do good with real estate, you need to like put everything aside and just focus on real estate and like really dial in. Like as far as I don't know how I remember how he really said it, but he said like right now you have like shotgun aim, mm-hmm. and like I want you to get like laser focused on real estate.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuck with me, to be honest. Like, even though it was just like a random conversation, it really did stick with me, because I felt like in that moment, I felt like that. Like, I felt like I was doing multiple things, right? And that I did need to really dial it in.
And it's true, right? Because like if you're chasing, if you're doing the shotgun effect, or if you're chasing multiple rabbits, you're not really going to catch one, right? Like,
no.
And from getting to know you over the past couple of years, I know you definitely have the entrepreneur spirit to you, right? Like you see opportunities, and you're great at marketing and all that stuff. But like Anthony was saying, right, if you don't put all your energy into one, like you're just going to be okay at a bunch of things, but you're not really going to be great at one thing.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was difficult for you, because you did have like your media company, right? That was like your baby for a while too, right?
Oh yeah.
What was that like? Like saying, hey, like I'm gonna step away from this. Was that a tough decision for you?
Big time tough decision. It took me, I put that together 2017, grew it to like 2019, and then like even when COVID hit, right? Mm-hmm. It just like exploded. So like I had a really good rush with clients. Everybody had to go digital, so it got even bigger. I loved the media content. I still produce a lot of content, or try to in a sense, and stay consistent. But I've always had a love for content and creating, and like being able to have that in a business where I was able to do that every day with some people that I was having a lot of fun with. It's hard to let something like that go.
Yeah.
It really is. But my ultimate goal is, has always been real estate, and acquiring real estate myself, learning the game, and teaching others and helping others get to those monumental milestones and ownership, as I want ownership and my rental properties, and teaching people how to do the same, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to pick and choose at the end of the day. And, yeah, it's a tough decision.
Yeah. I definitely can relate to you on that because, we have like a bunch of stuff that we've tried and done over the years too. And it's like, I always go back to what's my foundation? Where do I want to be in 5 years, 10 years, right? What do I want to like build my name off of and my legacy off of, right? And you have to pick one at the end of the day, right? Plant your flag and go all in. And so it's great that you're recognizing that. Question for you that comes up is, now that you're going all in, right? What sort of things are you enjoying most about now, able to go all in, and maybe what sort of challenges are you having now that you're trying to work through?
I think with now with being more focused and all in just real estate, right, is that, for example, me going and shifting into it, there is no more like there is no other income coming in, right? So I think that's like always like a thing, because I've always had different incomes coming in, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be good because I have money here, I have money coming from here, and this and that. And now that it's just real estate, it's like, you really gotta hyper focus and make sure that you're making money to survive, right? So I think that's one of the biggest things is that people don't take in consideration too, is like you need to be all in, so that, or because you don't have that any more plan B, I think that's when you really start to like dial it in.
Yeah.
Because you have like you have a fire under your ass now, right?
Yeah. There's no safety net, right? Like your back's against the wall. Like, this is what you got to do. This is what you're going in. You can't depend on, I got a couple thousand coming from here or whatever happening, right?
Yeah. But to answer your question, like my thought process, right, of shifting into that is now I have to really get great, just like what we're talking about, just be great in one thing. And in shifting into that, it's like, I want to be, I want to learn everything there is with the process, how to move people forward. One of the big things that you guys do, and that I always try to pay attention to, is how to filter people. How to filter people, because if it is going to be a nurture, or if it is a cold lead, or it's a hot lead, right, then I know who need to put the energy and time to in. And I'm not saying, turn it off on some people, but like I need to be able to filter people, because I need to be able to like generate as much. I need to be able to generate and like put my time, I guess, where it needs to be. I think with being able to, or the thought process with that now is like all my time has to be intentional.
Yeah.
Like all my time really has to be like either learning about real estate, focusing on real estate, or learning how I can do better.
Yeah, and I see that in you, right? And I want to give you props on that. Is you ask a lot of questions, right? Like you and I have gotten to work together closely since you've made the transition. You're going all in. We're like, you're constantly asking me, hey, Enrique, give me your feedback on this. Hey, this is what I'm doing. What do you think about this? And you're really just becoming a student of the game, which I really admire, because that's what it's going to take for you to really grow, right? Like you're getting that instant feedback. You're making tweaks. Like even today, right? You're structuring an offer, stuff like that. You and I got to brainstorm and mastermind. Now you get to go apply it, right? And then you're seeing, okay, did that work? Did that not work, right? So I just want to give you props on just really embracing like that learning aspect, because I think that's what's really going to lead to your success, right? Yeah. Discipline, the hustle, like you have that, right? You've done an Ironman, like all that. We'll talk about that in a second, right? Yeah. But I think you have the work ethic for sure. Now it's just, mastering the skill right here with real estate, right?
Yeah. And that's one thing too. Like I've always been good with that and asking questions, right? There's a lot of people that won't ask the questions. They'll just like, oh no, it's cool, I got it. Or they're just like, either maybe they're not teachable, but they just won't ask because they don't want to get embarrassed. I don't believe in that shit, right? I'm like, I'm gonna ask, because if I ask once, you tell me how to do it, then I know how to do it, and I gotta ask again. Right. And it's people like you, where you're saying with hustle, ambition and stuff, like watching family members and stuff growing up, right? There's a ton that are like, I would say like, kind of book smart, right? They know the questions, they read, they have the knowledge. And then I have like half where they're like work ethics and this and that, right? And the ones that want to, the ones that have the work ethic and stuff like that, you still have to have the knowledge part to be like, truly successful, I feel like, right? So you have to ask those questions.
Yeah, you got to have both, right? Like you can have hustle, but if you don't know what to do or where to put that hustle towards, you could just be wasting time and energy, right?
100%.
And so I think it's a good thing. Like, I see you in the office. It's funny because when I come in and I hear music playing, I know Josh is here because you're always locked in one of the offices and you always got music playing. What is that about, bro? You just like having music and setting the vibe for yourself?
Yeah, my brain's always, I don't know, dude. I don't know if it's just my brain or music, but like I'm big into energy, right? I feel like I think we all kind of know that here in the office, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, if I have music or something playing, I just get in a rhythm of things, and I think people even with like Thomas and a few people, they're like, I can tell what mood you're in by what music is playing. All right, like if it's something more chill, I'm probably like reading and doing something or learning, going through disclosure. If it's something fast, I'm probably trying to work through something pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, the music is just, that's just how I work.
Yeah. I like that, man. It's cool because I like doing that too. Like when I want to just, I got an hour to like knock all these things out or my emails or whatever, I'll just put some music in the background and like just get to work. Keeps me productive, right?
Yeah.
It's like you feel the flow of the music, right? And you work to that flow.
100%.
I like that. Now, this past quarter, we had our quarterly meeting, and we actually featured you as one of the panelists, right? We had like the top producers from our past quarter, and you were one of them, which was awesome. What do you think led to some of your success this past quarter? You know, when the market is kind of up and down, and it's a little bit challenging right now.
A lot of people that I had been trying to plant the seed with or get them to move up to the line, right? Of like either shopping for a home, selling their home and stuff like that. I mean, the ones that I had recently back to back, I had been working on those for like 2 years, and they just all happened to come at the same time, which was wild. And I just think it's like persistent. That's the word I was looking for.
Consistent and persistent, right? Like you just were following up and staying with them. You even won an award from Zillow, right? From our
longest nurture of all time or something like that. Right?
What was that? Like you nurtured a lead for like over a year and a half or something?
Yeah, that guy was like, I mean, it was a couple. They were just really picky, right, with the market. They didn't believe how competitive it got. And I think they thought that people were just like, it's like, oh, you know, you guys are just inflating prices or this and that. I'm like, that. And being able to, the thing that with them is I had to walk them, you know, and me and Thomas ended up working that one together at the end, right? But that one, I would have to say, like, showing them everything on how not just the buying process works, but like having them listen to like the listing agent when they tell us how many offers came in. That's when they started to be like, oh snap, like he's not lying. Yeah. Right. He really is telling the truth. Like they're, you know, the property before we got them in, the property before we got them into the house that we did, it had like 22 or like almost 30 offers on it. Wow. It was like insane, and they didn't believe it at all. All right, and they were like, "No, there's no way." Right? We call the listing agent, we tell them, and then she broke everything down on the number, and she was like, "Yeah, you guys are like in like bottom 4." Yeah. Right, and then that's when they started to like, okay, like we need to really listen to him, right? Yeah. And the way that I got them, the way I even got them into the house was a property that was sitting that needed a completely new roof. Got it. Right. And I said, hey, instead of you guys going crazy over prices with all these bidding wars, if you guys only had to pay for like a $25,000 roof, wouldn't that be like a lot better than having to go way over asking in all these other neighborhoods and stuff? Right. And they're like, yeah. We took a look. They loved the house. They were like, is that the only thing we have to worry about? Everything else on the house was pretty clean. We sent out an offer. And even though we weren't the highest on that one, because we were the cleanest and we did our homework, we went through the inspections and we were able to waive, if not put our contingencies down as low as possible, we ended up winning that offer. Nice. That's nice, man. So the persistency, right, and just continuing to show them, like basically walk them through the process, right, and showing them instead of just telling them, right? They got to see, you know, firsthand, hey, what's the listing agent saying, right? And so I think that's good because that's one of the things we talk about, right, is your client learning. And I've noticed that even with several deals that you and I have worked on together or that I've helped coach you through is you got to make sure the client is learning and like understanding and adjusting, right? Because if they're not adjusting, they're like, hey, I'm just going to keep doing the same strategy that's not working. It's going to get very frustrating and they're not going to be able to move them forward, right? Yeah. And I learned that the hard way last year is that you can't just always do what the client wants, right? You gotta like, our job is to definitely hear them out and hear what their thoughts and stuff. But we also, our job as realtors is to make sure that we're letting them know what is really truly going on in the market, but like also being very transparent with what it's gonna take to win the property that they want. And yeah, I think when they make their first offer, it's very scary and they're like, oh yeah, I wanna put this, I want to ask for all this crazy stuff and have my inspections and that. But if it's a very desirable property and they get blown out, right, then you need to explain that to them.
Yeah.
On why we didn't win, and it's really up to them if they want to adjust to win or if they want to just keep playing this game.
Yeah, and what you're describing is not just being an agent who just opens doors, but being an actual advisor, right? A consultant, advising them through the process, right? Of like, hey, let's understand why we didn't win. Let's understand what's happening with the market so that we can adjust and we can make those, make it happen at the end of the day, right? And I think you're starting to get in your rhythm now, and you're doing a great job, and that's why you're starting to have that success. I think that's part of it. Right?
Yeah, I think too. Also, like, just before we move on, is that we do a lot of I don't know how other people function and stuff like that, but I know we have our buyer console, right? We have an offer console, and then when we lose on an offer, I'm not with just like a text or like a phone call. Like, I have like a whole Zoom on like the offer, like why we didn't win, right?
Yeah.
And then when you can break it down to them and let them know, I think that's when people really truly are like, okay, I understand. Right? Because if you just shoot them a text and with no explanation and we just weren't the highest, right? We weren't the cleanest. They're just like, we can come down 2 days on our inspection period or something, right? But if you tell them people are coming non-contingent and this is why, and if we were to read through all our inspections and make sure that you guys are good with everything and we already have a clear understanding of like what's going on with the property and the health of the property, then I think the next time around they'll feel a lot more comfortable waiving if they need to be that competitive.
I like that. So you have your buyer consultation, your offer consultation, and then if they don't win, then you're having like a recap meeting kind of, right? Like, hey, why we didn't win consultation basically, right?
Yeah.
And they're able to get some real life feedback, and like now they're smarter clients, they're smarter buyers, and then you make those adjustments going forward.
100%.
Yeah, I think that's very smart. What made you start implementing that, or where'd you get that from?
I kind of just, with how competitive it gets, exactly, to be honest, more or less with that couple. The couple that took me a very long, like a year and something, right?
Yeah.
Because they just weren't believing that that's how uncompetitive the market was. And then they were like, why didn't we win, right? The guy was always asking, like, why didn't we win, right? And then I would explain to him, and then it was always like he would do the same thing or want to do the same thing again, right? So when we did that last one with the that we competed in Milpitas for, I did a consult with them after, and I explained everything, and I broke down to him, and I had the listing agent on the phone during our consult. And then I was like, can you let me, I'm like, where are we and what place, right? And she was like, oh, you guys are like fourth on the bottom, right? And she's like, you guys are like 200K or 200 something off right now. Are your clients willing to come up? I was like, well, I'll have to call them back and see, if we could do a counter for that and this and that. And she's like, yeah, every offer we have is non-contingent, and you guys have an inspection, and you guys have like an appraisal, this and this and that, right? And the comps that we had went over, the ones next to us, we're like over those, right? We're definitely going to clear that. So everything that she said was like stuff I had already tried to like let them know, right, on how that really works. But like I think hearing it from them, and they know now I'm not BSing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they went, when we did the next offer, they waived their contingencies to be competitive to win that offer. Because had we did contingencies again and a lower offer, we wouldn't have got them the house they wanted.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I think that's the tough part of our job, especially when you're working with buyers in a competitive market, right? Like they hear you're telling them, but they don't believe it necessarily, right? Because I think buyers, or any clients in their mind, right, think like, hey, there is some sales aspect to this thing, right? Maybe I'm just getting sold on why I gotta move forward, right?
100%, yeah.
And of course, we realize that we can't sell anybody on buying anything. All you can do is show them the information and help advise them, right? But I think that's the hard part of our job, right? Is no one really knows what the agenda is, and people don't have. It takes time to build trust also with people, right?
It does, for sure. And I've learned, I've never competed really. I've sold maybe 2 or 3 houses out of the area, right? Those houses, I feel like those are like, it's like, that's what people really think when they're buying a house here, right? That's going to happen. They have like weeks to look around, right? And put an offer on the first house that they saw like 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? That it's going to move very slow. We have like response times and this and that. When we have, with us being here now with like offer due dates, right? We have the competitiveness. People are going over asking. People are even sending preemptive offers, right? We don't have time to do that. So as soon as you remotely like a house, we need to get to work, right? And I think having all those steps and everything going into it, and try to explain everything as much as possible is what's going to take, not only money wise, but those steps are what's going to take to win in this market for sure.
Yeah. I mean, what's your mindset around that, right? Like, because some agents might see that and like get upset, or might say like, man, this market's just too tough, right? Like, for you to be persistent and stick with the client for a year and a half, right, or whatever that is, what's your mindset, and how do you view this, like view the process, you know, to like stick with it that long?
Well, that would kind of like, I think with the mindset with it, that just kind of goes along with my mindset and my love for like challenges, right? Like, I mean, I try a different challenge, fitness challenge all the time, right? I did try to do 100 miles this last month, right? Fell short of 10 miles, right? But I'm going to do it again in December to end the year off. And I think just having, you know, like my competitiveness, right? But my love for like challenges and stuff like that that's my mindset when it comes to real estate. Like for him, I'm like, okay, well, this guy's definitely like, it's not a sprint with him, right? It was definitely going to be more of like a marathon. Right, but we'll get to the finish line when we get to the finish line.
Yeah.
And I think that having that mindset and being patient with him and communicating over and over again without being frustrated, because I'm sure some agents would have been like, I'm done. All right,
Yeah,
like,
they would have gave up.
They would have gave up for sure, especially with how many offers we put in with him. But the thing with him is that he would always talk, right, and he would always give me his he was very transparent on his end. So I'd be very transparent on my end too. But like I feel like he was just as patient too. Like even though he wasn't like playing to win, I was like, we'll get him there for sure. We'll make it happen.
I like that. But I think that's important. That's an important part you bring up. It's just the mindset, right? And I think it just has to do also with who you are, right? Like you compete in marathons, Ironman, you ran 100 miles. You're trying to hit 100 miles this past month and fell 10 miles short, right? Running 90 miles in a month is no small feat, right? Mm-hmm. Where does that drive come from, man? Have you always been like that, and how do you think that helps you in real estate?
Yeah, I think I can't remember a time that I didn't always try something hella like random or just like, something be like. I've always been very into like, how would I say, like pushing your limits, right? Pushing your limits, what the human body is like capable of, and like even like with your mindset and stuff like that too. Like people will be like, oh, I can't do that, and it's like, well, have you ever tried it, right? I'll be like, no, I can't climb. Like some people will be like, I can't even do Mission Peak. I'm like, have you ever tried it? They're like, nah. How do you know you can't do it?
Yeah.
Right? Even with my Ironman, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but I never ran a marathon.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
that?
I've never signed up to do any run ever. And then someone was like, that's one of the toughest marathons you could ever do. And I was like, well, how long is it? And they were like, you have to do that. It's 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, and then however a marathon is, I think it's like 26.2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were like, yeah, it's a full thing. And at that time, I wake up on a random Saturday and run like 10 miles. So I'm like, it can't be that bad, right? And then my boy was gonna do it, and he had been training for a while, and he was like, are you gonna do it? And I was like, he was like, you should do it because you already run and bike and swim all that and all that stuff already. So, and I was just like, in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna try something new, right? I'll just kind of wing it. And then when I got there and people were like, how long were you training? I've been training for a year with my trainer. I'm like, I've been training for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Like realistically, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But when I did it, and then I talked to my friends and I talked to people that were there, they were like, that's all mindset. If you finish that and you've never trained like this before, that's just mindset, dude. Because you just were like, I'm not stopping until I get to the end. When so many people, like, they pay for trainers, they pay thousands of dollars for bike, like, they do all this stuff. But like people that just have a mindset that are like goal orientated and they're up for the challenge. I mean, even like when your boy Kevion, right?
Yeah.
Like Kevion, like he has that goal mindset, dude. There was no doubt he was gonna finish it, and I know he had his ups and downs of that race. We all did, right? Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, if you have it locked in that you're gonna finish, no matter what pace you're going at, you'll get it done.
That definitely transfers over into the hustle of real estate, right? And being an entrepreneur and stuff like that is you have to have that grit, that mentality where like, hey, no matter how hard it gets, I'm going to keep pushing because I made a commitment to this, right? And I'm seeing that shine, and I'm seeing that, contribute to your success as well. Just to close out and wrap this up, I guess the last thing is, what are you most excited about, for the future of your business? Maybe is there anything that you're working on right now? Is there any sort of ideas around where you want your business to go, over the next couple of years?
Right now, I'm focused on just closing out the year as best as possible. As far as like what I have planned for the years to come and stuff, I would like to be more, I listen to a lot of these top guys and big names in the game, right? And they've always been like they're 50-50 on their business, and I've never looked at that. I know a lot of people here, especially when I talk to people, everybody wants to be a listing agent, right?
Yeah.
And I understand that, you know, you have the product, people come to you. It's like more on a warrior, instead of having to always chase and be very chase down buyers and compete in this market and stuff like that, right? But even like when I listened to I just went to that event where I listened to Josh Lopez, right? He said he's 50-50. And the reason that he's like that, if the market goes down, like right now for fall and winter on the listing side, he's like, I'm dunking and getting in buyers. Right? And then he was like, and then, you know, he's like, when the market's back up in the summertime with listings, like I'm a listing agent. So like he's back, he goes back and forth, right? 50-50 is his business. I've never really looked at stuff like that, so I think I need to like dial it in more with like long term on like how basically what my business would consist of. The stuff that we went over yesterday with how to really dial in, you know, our numbers and keep ourselves accountable, I think is stuff that I want to use and leverage to this next year coming up. But also just, you know, just also my biggest goal is just build my brand as a real estate agent in the years to come, and really dial it in with my social media. I really want to get my like YouTube off the ground, right? My YouTube channel, and start showcasing a lot more properties throughout the Bay Area or new construction and development going on. But I think for the end of the year, just end it off as best as possible. My mindset is to, you know, the goal that I have, and get those into contract.
Yeah, there you go, man. I think it's a solid plan. I think that's for where you're at in your business, right? I think that's the natural progression of where you should go, right? Is now you're starting to, you know, get more sales under your belt. Now it's starting to think about, okay, well, how do I want my business to look, right? Because in the beginning, it's just like close whatever I could close, right? Now it's like, okay, now I'm closing some deals. Now what if I can have it any way? Like, what would I want it to look like, and be strategic about that? So I think that's very, very good, very, very, very good plan. And you're going to do that by building your brand, by getting yourself out there more, right? And where people know you now as the go-to real estate person, whereas before they knew you as Josh does a little bit of this, a little bit of that, right?
Yeah. And that's coming clear now too to my family and friends, because you know, you go to an event, whether it be like a friends gathering, family gathering and stuff like that. It used to be like, you know, hey, don't you do this, or hey, you do this and that, right? It'd be like one conversation and they talk to me about like 2 or 3 different things I was doing, right? But now it's really dialed in for like real estate. Like I put out enough info. You know, all my family follows me like on Facebook, which I'm sure yours is too, right? The older generation. And then like Instagram, like my younger cousins. So I have my younger cousins like talking to me about real estate, and then I have like my older family hitting me up on Facebook about like, hey, you know, such and such, and our family might sell, or such and such, or your cousin's looking for a house and this and that, right? So like now it's definitely more dialed in for like or how would I say, like they know me more for real estate than anything else now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And that's just going to continue to get stronger and stronger as you continue to put yourself out there, right? So I know, like, even looking with my business in the beginning, like I was talking to everybody about real estate, but they didn't in the beginning, they don't like fully know if this is what you're doing or if you're the go-to person yet, because you haven't really proven yourself, right?
100%.
And so as they're watching you prove yourself and put the sales up and put the content out there, now their opinion of you and their perception of you starts to change. And then after a while, it's like, oh yeah, Josh is the real estate guy, right? And that does take time.
It takes time for sure. Even like now being, you know, persistent with the sale that I just had, my listing side, right? But being able to close that on my parents' street where I grew up, now all the people that I grew up with, right? They're like, now they all like, okay, like now we know Josh does real estate, right? Or like when I sold the house, it wasn't just like monumental for me for selling a house on my own street that I grew up on. It was like now the whole like neighborhood knew, right? Yeah. And they were like, oh, dude, like we've always seen you do real estate on Facebook and this and that, but it's like one thing to see you on Facebook and then you're selling a house here and this and that San Jose. But like to see you on your own block sell a house was pretty sick. Yeah,
that's tight, right? With the sign, with your face on the sign and all that stuff, right? That's awesome, man. Well, I do just want to close out, man. Thank you for jumping on, you know, on the podcast with me today. Congrats on all your success, man. I do appreciate your friendship, your partnership. You make us laugh in the office. There's always that vibe and energy that you bring, man. So I think it's an awesome part of what you bring to the table. But keep getting it, bro.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.